Welcome back, guys, and today we're discussing our top worst action figure releases of 2025. Now, the top 10 worst could mean a few things to me. It could mean how easily accessible or how difficult was the figure to get, how expensive was it for what you were getting, and was the figure actually good? Were there quality control issues? Was it missing accessories? Things like that. So, with that being said, let's get into my top worst action figure releases of the year. At the number 10 spot is the Ptorian Fury from Valiverse. Now, I picked on this figure last year, the Elite Ptorian, as my top 5 worst figure of the year. And for the same issues, this guy's going at the top of my worst list. And it really comes down to quality controls. So, overall sculpt is fantastic. It was easy to get. I only ordered one this time because I ordered 3 of the Elite Ptorians last time, and they suffered from loose joints. Now, this guy comes with a heavy loadout that goes on his arms, and unfortunately, his arms can't bear the weight of the added accessories. So you have these 2 mounted guns or flamethrowers, and they have a flame effect, which are pretty awesome. However, once you put those flame effects on, his arms just tend to be super loose. So I don't display him with those because I don't want to weaken the figure any more than it already is. But for that reason, this guy has to go back onto the top worst list. So number 10, the Ptorian Fury. At my number 9 spot, I have Captain Planet from 5K Toys. Now, 2 things could be true at the same time. I equally love this figure, at the same time have been equally frustrated with this figure. Now, I got this figure about a month ago, and I did a review on it. I had some pretty glowing things to say about it, but there were some issues with it, and as the weeks have gone on and I've played with this figure more, it's kind of been a little frustrating. So, sort of similar to my top 10 with the Ptorian Fury, this guy suffers from loose joints, and in the absolute worst spot too. You never want a figure to have some loose joints at the feet. So, this is something I'm going to have to pay attention to, but his right foot, unfortunately, will just give out. I'll pose him, I'll stand him, and then he'll just fall out of nowhere. So, that's really not a good sign, especially for a brand new figure. He's going to have to live on a flight stand. But the other thing that's super frustrating is he comes with some other face sculpts, and unfortunately, so once the foot gives out and he falls over, his mullet piece just kind of pops off. So that's not fit on snug, it's not tight, making it a really frustrating experience when you're trying to pose this figure. So for that, unfortunately, even though I love Captain Planet, he has to go to the number 9 spot. And for my number 8 spot, we have Punisher from Daredevil Born Again. This was a figure that I think needed a much needed upgrade. The original Netflix version did not have a great likeness, but there was still some good things about it. And when I got this figure in, I was just a little disappointed. So one, just for height comparison, he's much shorter than the original release. So they've already downsized him. He looks way too scrawny for the figure, so you already feel like you're getting less plastic. Yeah, the one redeeming quality about this figure is that they did nail the head sculpt. So side profile's great, front, they did a great job on the hair, so some nice detail there. But the overall figure, while they made a few upgrades, it's pinless, the buck is too small, his accessories are gummy, the paint is sloppy all over the weapons clips that don't come out, and it's just kind of a boring figure. So, you made an upgrade for this figure that was released maybe in 2017, 2018, and it's very underwhelming. So, for that, I'm going to put Frank Castle as my number 8 for Marvel Legends. At the number 7 pick, we have McFarlane's Wonder Woman. This was a 2-pack with Godzilla, and it was at a price point of about $80. So you had to buy that Godzilla to get this Wonder Woman, and it's not even the version that I like the most. So I just wanted a Wonder Woman on the shelf. And I mentioned before, 2 things could be true. This was on my favorites list for McFarlane, but it's really only my favorite because I was able to get my hands on it. Other than that, there's really not much else that makes this figure great or stand out for me. So just looking at the figure, I didn't notice until someone that watched one of my videos pointed it out. She's bow-legged. Like, her legs just stick out like that. So I guess if you heat it up, you can probably fix that, but that looks awful. So she's just kind of stand on the shelf with her legs kind of out like that. Super annoying. So mention the price point, $80, hidden behind a paywall where you had to purchase Godzilla. So that sucked. I actually just gave that Godzilla away for free. The bow-leggedness of the design, so the sculpt's not great. And then the accessories are extremely laughable. So because she came with a Godzilla, she comes with a mini version of herself. This thing is like I guess it's a 4-point articulation, but you move one of the arms and they pop out. So this is a useless piece of crap that'll just live in a drawer. And then the most iconic accessory that Wonder Woman should come with is her lasso of truth. And this is what we got. This is a craft store piece of nylon string. So if you're a leader in the toy making industry and this is what you're producing as an accessory behind an $80 price point, this is pretty terrible. So for that, she's going to make the top worst list, and that is Wonder Woman from McFarlane. My number 6 spot goes to Grandma Bebop and Baby Rocksteady. So these made it to my top 10 TMNT best of the year, only they were dishonorable mentions because I think this is a terrible release. So again, I think this line is sunsetting. I think they're running out of steam. They're not giving us original characters. We are getting redos of these characters over and over again. I think I counted 6 different variations of Bebop and Rocksteady. While it is a cool deep cut for the line and for hardcore collectors, you still have plenty of characters that you need to fill out. So I feel pretty good kind of bashing these just because I didn't pay for them. My brother bought them for me. So these are not something I probably would have purchased for myself. I would have passed on these for sure. I'm probably going to use the carriage to put the baby turtles in, but other than that, these are my 4th set of Bebop and Rocksteady on the shelf. I think after the beach set, I said I was not going to buy any more of these. So this one I didn't buy. It was handed to me. And for that, I'm going to critique the hell out of it. If I would have paid the $60 plus retail price for this, I would have felt pretty dumb. But anyway, not happy with where the line's going or where it's not going. And for that, that's why they have to make the worst list. At the number 5 spot for our top 10 worst figures, I have the Trick or Treat Studios Goosebumps figures. Now, these figures in particular are not bad. They're not the worst. So this is the main line. I will say for 5-point articulation figures at a $30 price point, definitely blows to the wallet. So these are good figures for what they are. Now, these are the 5 main original ones. I will say they're fine. I knew what I was getting into. It's all good there. Unfortunately, the Build-A-Figure that was promised is pretty bad. So these are the good ones. Let's get these out of the way. Now, this is the Build-A-Figure Curly. Now, if you are going to tout a $30 price point for 5-point of articulation action figures and advertise a Build-A-Figure, then your Build-A-Figure needs to be a little bit better than those little rubber skeletons that you buy at the Dollar Tree. And unfortunately, that is exactly what this Build-A-Figure is. Curly is the iconic mascot of Goosebumps, or at least one of them. And he can't stand for anything. It's really hard to get him posed. His feet are rubbery, just like those dollar store skeletons. So he has to remain in a seated position. Some redeeming qualities about him, design-wise is cool. He comes with a little Goosebumps book, so that's fun. But when you are paying over $150 for a set of 5 POA figures, and you are promised to build a figure, and this is what comes out, it's pretty disappointing. So number 5 goes to Goosebumps Trick or Treat Curly. The number 4 spot goes to the Snap 3-pack with Sauron, She-Devil, and Rogue. I know what you're thinking. I don't have it. Exactly. What a terrible release. What a mess of a pre-order. I was waiting every time that they said it was going to be released to pick it up. It sold out immediately. It never went back on sale. So pretty much, if you are in the same position as me, you have 2 useless figures that you're not going to be able to complete. And I haven't heard anything about a release of Shaun of the She-Devil. I can deal without the Sauron or the Rogue, but to not have her and to have these 2 figures, I've even thought about just selling these 2 figures because they're kind of useless. Although I do like animals, so I might keep Sabu. But for me, it's just like at this point, why do I have these figures? I even picked up the the Professor X, because I wanted to create, kind of that scene, the Savage Land scene. But now that you're missing them, it's kind of pointless. So for that, it's a more of a, not worse on the list. I'm sure they're good figures. It's more of a disappointment, and disappointing that I didn't get them. Disappointing that a lot of collectors didn't get them, and just want to give Hasbro. I just want to give you my money. I don't know why it was so easy to get the Cold Slither 4-pack. Unfortunately, this 3-pack was inaccessible, and because of that, it makes the worst list. Number 3 goes to Major Blood from G.I. Joe Classified. I get really confused when I see this guy on everyone's top 10 favorite list. To each their own. For me, design-wise, it's a bland figure. It was easily accessible. I know the original one was really hard to get, so it was highly anticipated, and I think as they re-released it, they really didn't do much differently. I think they made him pinless, so kudos for them. I think the original had the same issues, but these stupid missiles on his back just keep falling out, even when he's just standing there. So I'm constantly going back to this figure, putting the missiles back on. I finally took one off and just attached it to the gun because I was so annoyed with it. If he does fall, this helmet's going flying, so it doesn't fit snug on there. It's just kind of loose. So look at that. As we're talking, the missile falls off. So this is just an everyday thing. I work in my toy collection room, and I'll hear a noise, and guarantee it's this missile. So since I've had this figure, it's been nothing but frustration. I don't understand how this makes it to anyone's top 10, but for me, he's going to make it to the number 3 spot on my worst list. Now, these next two might not look familiar, but these are definitely meant for the worst list of any action figure collection. So just to kind of give a quick explanation, a new theme park opened here in Orlando called Epic Universe. It's a Universal theme park, and there's a whole Universal Monsters theme land. There is exclusive merchandise there. NECA actually did some exclusive merchandise just for the land. They had some beautiful figures, but I wanted to skip those because I wanted to get the exclusive theme park merchandise, which was this Frankenstein's monster and Victoria Frankenstein. These were $88. $88. And the one individual NECA figure was like $45. And for some reason I skipped the NECA figure and went for these. I did it to myself, so this is my own fault, but I don't think I knew the extent of how bad these figures were. So just design-wise, they look awful. And I saw that through the package, and I still bought them because I always like to get something from the location just as like a souvenir or token. Design-wise, they're awful. Articulation, single-jointed knees, elbows, no cut at the waist. They just look horrible, bland, plasticky, very toy-like. These are not adult-friendly collectibles. And at an $88 price point, they're pretty bad. The one redeeming quality is that Victoria Frankenstein comes with this cool crossbow that is accurate to what you see on the attraction and in the artwork. I'll put a picture of Victoria Frankenstein right here. That is what she should look like. And I know it's Universal theme park, but she shouldn't look like she's from Whoville. So $88. I played myself because I saw them. I should have gone with the NECA figures. The other thing is that I went to the park recently, and they now have dropped the price of these to $55. So I'm glad that they are recognizing that these are not worth $88, which also makes me kind of sad because that means I'm probably one of the few people that bought it at that $88 price point. So no one to blame but myself for these, but they are going on the worst list at the number 2 spot. At my number 1 worst action figure of 2020-25 goes to this Red Sonja by Boss Fight Studios. Another figure I see on a lot of people's top 10, but for me, this has just not been a fun play experience for action figure releases. So let's start with the price point. This was $60. $60. You don't get much more than you would get on a G.I. Joe Classified release. Like, how much could the rights for Red Sonja be? They must be expensive if they had to put it that high. She does come with a lot of accessories, so that's cool. The accessories are great. But overall, they used an existing buck that I guess they use for all their female figures, and all of her clothing is just loose on her body. So it's not sculpted in. I guess if you wanted to customize, it's great, but You don't put anything underneath the crotch piece. It looks really weird when this is just kind of floating on. It's basically just a Barbie doll with some clothing accessories. So these don't sit right. It looks super awkward. The joints below look terrible. So at least if you would have had something sculpted in, break up the skin tone, it would have had that color. QC issues as well. Every time I try to pose her, this arm pops out. You can see like the joint is visible there, and I've heated it up. I've tried to, fit it in, and it just keeps coming apart. This was my most anticipated figure of the year. As soon as they announced it, I had it on pre-order, and when I got it, opened it, reviewed it, it quickly turned into, I knew this was going to be the worst figure for me of the year. Pretty much it had high hopes, right? I mean, this was the figure that I was anticipating the most. It missed the mark on so many different levels, and for that, Red Sonja is going to be my #1 worst action figure of 2025. And there it is, guys. I'm not super hard to please. I think if I can take a figure out of the package, it moves fine, the accessories are good, I don't feel bad about how much money I spent on it, then it really won't make it to the top worst list. Unfortunately for most of these, there was just issues out of the package, their price point was too high, QC issues, and I think that's what all makes it go to the top 10 list. So overall good year. I think of the over 100 figures I purchased, to have to narrow it down to 10 is kind of difficult because, I'm still happy to have all these on the shelf, but they've missed the mark just that little bit. And especially with things I love. Like I love this Captain Planet figure. Unfortunately, there are things wrong with it. So with that, this is my top 10 worst action figure pickups of 2025. Let's hope 2026 is better. And until the next episode, we'll catch you next time.